So this is intended as a continuation video from an introduction to ideas around female, feminine, I should say, and masculine archetypes and what they are and aren't, that I put together in another brief post. I'll put the link for that in the description for this video if you want to look at that first of all. Here, very much considering what is divine. What makes the feminine or the masculine divine? Different teachers and writers offer different interpretations of what this means. And it's not really our purpose here, or my purpose here, to attempt to reach a definitive understanding of what these principles mean. Although a couple of examples might give us some ideas and move us in this direction. So a couple of definitions here. So this is from Nina Khan, an article online that I picked up. The divine feminine is a sacred spiritual energy that's believed to exist within all of us, representing the part of our consciousness that connects us to qualities like intuition, feeling, nurturing, receptivity, and interconnectedness. The divine feminine refers to a phase of the divine spirit that is connected with the body, with nature, and with the cycles of creation and transformation. It is generally understood and felt through the subtle, intuitive wisdom of the body, the creative and life-giving energy within all of us that gives form to that which we care about and put our energy into. That's Gabriella Herzstig in her book, Goddess Energy. And another here, again, this is a view of Nina Khan. Many practitioners are moving away from using gendered language to describe energy. Masculine energy is often thought of as being active and outward-oriented, and feminine energy is receptive and inward-focused. So while saying that divine feminine energy is life-giving, for example, may evoke thoughts of fertility and the female reproductive system, know that it transcends far beyond that. Absolutely. Absolutely. As I say, I think those are very limited definitions in many ways. So we might conceptualize the divine feminine as being what happens within a circle or a womb in the way that creativity is given space and nurtured. The sacred masculine, by contrast, might be considered singular and focused as a point, the logos that originates the seed of an idea. Some writers describe the masculine as we've said, as providing a container, as though embracing the circle in which creativity flows, being the provider, the defender. Although for me, this implies that the feminine isn't a holder or a defender as well. And clearly, as personified by many of the Greek goddesses, such as Hestia, who kept the home safe for returning gods and goddesses, or Athena, the defender of Athens. Clearly, this view doesn't hold, even when we're talking about archetypes and models of divinity. And of course, the womb itself is a provider, if you like, of a safe space for a baby to be nurtured, well, for the embryo to be nurtured and to grow. So the mother here is providing a container as much as perhaps a male partner may be providing the external container for raising a child in a traditional model, traditional society. I do find such ideas very limiting. We should say also that, of course, each of us gives and receives in a sexual relationship. If you want to reduce this to mere biology, so a mother is giving milk to nurture and provide sustenance for her child, her newborn. She is a giver as well as a receiver. And in any kind of sexual relationship, of course, there is going to be give and take. It's a bit of a dance. It's not all one-sided. So I really would get away from those kind of labels if we can. Models of the divine feminine that we might refer to include the awesome power to create, sustain, and destroy, such as that represented by the goddess Kali, the fearless nature-living warrior Artemis, or perhaps the compassionate leadership that's not afraid to fight when necessary, as shown by Athena, for example, and one who prepares the way for others. I mentioned Hestia there. The principle is also present in most faith traditions. For example, Shakti in the Hindu tradition, Tara in Buddhist traditions, Shekinah in Judaism, Isis and Hathor in Egyptian, Brigid and Morrigan in Celtic, along with the Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene, occasionally personifying the divine feminine in particularly in the more Gnostic Christian, non-mainstream Christian writings. So what aspects of the divine feminine might a person present? Considering potential archetypal roles, one who personifies the divine feminine might be like one of the Greek goddesses, Hestia, a carer, a holder and provider, perhaps for their lord, their god, for a parent or for others. A wise and courageous leader who perseveres in the face of conflict, such as Athena again, as a faithful anointer and supporter to a partner, unswerving in her duty. Aphrodite might be an example there. As one who has, who sees what is needed, has great wisdom and doesn't hold back in speaking and taking action. So Sophia might be an example there. And also perhaps one who is receptive to hearing, meditating upon, and applying what is taught to them by the divine, as, for example, Sarasvati, perhaps. However, we might imagine that male and female characters in religious teaching, Mary Magdalene and Jesus, if we take the Christian story, for example, each had integrated a large measure of divine feminine and divine or sacred masculine within themselves. We see Jesus as being compassionate, nurturing, peacemaking, an itinerant shepherd, for example, while Mary is direct acting. She anoints, she rushes to the disciples, is the one that is being proactive and fearless after the crucifixion and going to the tomb. She is bold and proactive. So if we were to take Mary Magdalene, for example, as someone who is occasionally upheld as a model of the divine feminine, I think we can also point to some very strong sacred masculine characteristics there as well and say, well, actually, she'd probably done a very good job at integrating both. Yes, she can be a model for the divine feminine, a feminine archetype, but she also embodies a lot that we might label as being masculine. And probably on her own, she doesn't represent the perfect example of a feminine archetype. So we have Mary the sister and Mary the mother of Jesus complementing this. So the conflated Maria might be more of a complete type. So whatever we might conclude about these characters from the Bible and elsewhere, whatever traditions or whatever myths you follow, perhaps our primary interest should be how the divine feminine and sacred masculine come together and work together and complement each other, mirroring each other, and rather being archetypes of women or men, they might tell us how we can integrate within ourselves that which we mirror in another person, in turn leading to our own upbringing and growth. That's if we get away from just seeing potential social roles. And accepting perhaps the special role of a mother, we might want to question whether a boy or a man needs the support of a divine feminine to grow, or the woman, or a woman, I should say, or girl, the support of a comparable male companions on their journey. Does a relationship, for example, with a sister differ in any significant way than with a brother? Can an individual of the same sex act as a mirror for our projections? In other words, to find this complement in another. Do we always need to have a mate or a companion in order for that to be? Now, given the large number of saints, for example, who appear not to have had earthly companions, yet achieved a very high level of spiritual growth, I would suggest that the answer to at least some of these questions is no. And furthermore, from what we know of characters like Mary Magdalene or Deborah from the Old Testament, Kali, we can be sure that there was much more than them being, as it were, the woman behind the man. They were towering forces, absolutely, in their own right. So I'm going to stop this video here, and I'm going to pick up on this question, continue this question of whether the divine feminine is exclusively for women, or whether the sacred masculine energies and archetypes should be exclusively for men, models, as it were, for men to grow up with. I'm going to put that in another video because I'm very conscious of how long I have been going on here. But hopefully some of this has been useful, and we will be continuing this discussion hot on the heels in my next video.